Hello everybody, hope you're doing okay. Welcome to my cabin. Now, I thought I'd do a bit of a clear out of old shoes I don't want to use anymore. Because if you can see here, the treadmill is kind of like a storage area for my sort of day shoes, which I'm trying to find some home for. And as you can see, all these shelves are stacked. So I don't think I'll actually try and sell any of these shoes, but let's have a quick whistle-stop tour through some of the ones I think I can just literally just chuck out. So what have we got here? I think one here I've noticed is the Brooks Hyperion Tempo, the original version. I never quite got on with these. I just found them a bit too wide. I know Andy Rayner really liked these. I think it's often these days it's a case of if Andy likes a shoe, then perhaps I don't. But yeah, I think a shoe that I tried to like, but yeah, I think just really had its day, a 2020 shoe, and these now feel a bit sort of clumpy and old and stiff. So I've got a plastic bag here. Let's put these shoes in and start taking a few up to the recycling shoe place. So the first ones go in, the Brooks ones. Okay, the next up I think is a pair of Ultraboosts here. These are only in a UK 12.5, and I used to use these a bit on the treadmill, but now they just feel really heavy and clumpy. Definitely a shoe that was very iconic at the time. I remember I got very excited to get my first pair of these. These felt extremely soft at the time. No one laughs for these. They feel actually quite firm. So it's funny how foams have gone, isn't it? And with the Boost material here at the time, very soft, but now actually feels quite firm. And look at that. I mean, back in the day, that would be considered a high stack shoe, wouldn't it? And now it looks quite low. Look how low it is at the front there. Amazing how things have come on, isn't it? So yeah, I think these are going as well. Now, sadly, my favourite Vaporfly ones, I think I really ought to start chucking out a few of the pairs. They look here at the front, how that's sort of coming away. So yeah, not really a shoe that realistically I'll be wanting to wear. I do have quite a few newer or less used shoes, versions of the Vaporfly one. So I think, yeah, better cool time on this one. You can see how much it's sort of frayed away. The Nike logo there is gone completely. But these were the shoes I actually wore to a 256 in Seville. So yeah, they've served me well. I think these were the second pair of shoes that I might have worn. I remember wearing them in the Farmer Half Marathon in 2020, and then I put them into the Seville Marathon after that. So yeah, definitely had their day. I think I've done over 300 miles these ones, so had a good innings for sure. Look at the other one there. It doesn't look too bad, but you can see it's really almost frayed away at the top there. So yeah, I think it's time for it to go. Okay, so what else have we got here? I think this one, New Balance TC, very much in the genre of the Brooks Hyperion Tempo. This was probably the first carbon plated shoe that I had, which wasn't like an out and out racer. So at the time, I think this wasn't bad. I think at the end of the time, only the Vaporfly 1 or 4% existed. So this one was kind of interesting that it was somewhat heavier, somewhat softer I found, and somewhat slower, but it's a shoe at the time that was sort of like quite something to have, because you felt like you had an alternative to the Vaporfly and perhaps felt like you were having to work a bit harder. Man, now it just feels rather dated. I think I did about 100 miles in these, so yeah, not too bad innings, but really I'm never going to wear these again now, and I don't think I'm really worth bothering to sell them, so let's put these away as well. So 4 shoes in the bag so far. What else can we see that we can get rid of? There's a few here that I might want to sort of keep for posterity, like say the Boston 11. I think in a way I kind of prefer the Boston 11 to the Boston 12, which are kind of lurking there, and didn't even bother to get the Boston 13, but yeah, I might have a cull on them. Things like the Adios 8, I probably won't wear them again, but they might save them for another day. And things like the Adizero Pro, which was kind of the time you thought this was going to be some revolutionary shoe from Adidas. This was the one before the Adios Pro 1, I think in the same summer, and this was really a bit of a get a shoe out to try and rival Nike at the time. So it's interesting how much Adidas have caught up really over the years, isn't it? This was a bit of a tank really. I mean, that was like full light strike material with a plate in it and fairly low stack. So yeah, well, I think did it have rods in it? So yeah, it was an interesting shoe. Couldn't get it in my proper size at the time. So yeah, at the time in 2020, you're just fighting for any old shoes. But I'll keep that one for now, I think. This is one of my most viewed shoe reviews ever. This is the Nike Trail GORE-TEX 3, I think. A nice black colourway. It does feel very heavy though, but considering the amount of views on it I got in it, I think I'll keep it for posterity. Definitely a nice keeper. It's quite a nice looking shoe. You can see how popular these are because of the fact it looks quite good for the lifestyle, doesn't it? And in fact, they are very waterproof. I mean, now as a running shoe, it feels okay, but just feels a bit of a tank. But yeah, for trail and a very wet weather, certainly did the job for sure. So moving up here, I think we've got some Turbo 2s here, which I've got another pair of newer Turbo 2s, or least used shoes, or lesser used shoes, should we say. So I think I'm going to have a bit of a cull. I'll get rid of these ones to save a bit of space. So these are going in the bag. So what else have we got up here? I actually found these somewhere else. This is actually the Ghost 9. I think at the time I got these, this is quite old shoe now. This is going back about 2018, something like that. I think at the time it was a bit of a novelty shoe because it came in a narrow. And at the time I was trying to search for an alternative shoe to run in because the Bostons, the Adidas Bostons that I was using became a bit big. So I decided to go for this one as a bit of a trial. Did about 50 miles in it. It feels really dated now, doesn't it? Look how much the low stack that is at the front for a max cushion shoe at the time. And I've also got the Ghost 15s up there. So I think it might be a double whammy and get rid of both. Although maybe the Ghost 15s is maybe something I could look to sell. I'm not sure who would actually want a Ghost 15. The Ghost 17's out now, isn't it? So just goes to show how much this Ghost line is popular. But yeah, even though it's a narrow shoe, you can see how much I've got the tongues touching, haven't they, there? So yeah, don't think Brooks shoes are ever that narrow, even in the narrow. But yeah, definitely I think we'll have to go. What else have we got up here? So we've got some old worn out Vomeros. I think this is the Vomero 16. So yeah, I mean, I actually quite like this one. Did about 250 miles in it, but they basically are now worn out. So yeah, a shoe that I think will need to have to go. And the outsole actually is not looking too bad. It's also a bit worn there at the top where I normally toe off. I didn't mind these shoes, but I kind of felt them a bit something and nothing really. I mean, they were a sort of alternative to the Pegasus, and the bit of ZoomX in it didn't really have a huge amount of difference. So yeah, I had a good innings, but time to see the light of day, I think. And the other one there, very similar, isn't it? I mean, it doesn't look too bad condition. I think that's one of the factors about shoes. People sort of look at the outsole and think, oh, we've got a lot more life in them. Yeah, but in terms of how the midsole is, that's the acid test. And yeah, when you've got so many other shoes to try on, you're never going to go back to a pair like this. And they do feel rather heavy just picking them up. So yeah, I think I'll have to go as well. Now the Endorphin Speed 2 Runshield, that was one of my most favourite shoes in recent times, but I managed to actually lose the right pair of this one. So I kept the left one in the hope that I would find it. I do actually have a newer pair, or a lesser used pair in the car, which I wore recently, and they weren't perhaps as quite as great as I remember, but yeah, it's definitely a very good shoe for the time. And if there's anything like a bit of rain in the air, definitely a good shoe to take out. And they are incredibly actually lighter than the Endorphin Speed 2, which makes them, I think, fractionally lighter than the current Endorphin Speed 5, which I'm starting to enjoy. So yeah, I think the other one might have just fallen out of the car, or maybe Sue hid it. And I've got another pair, I think, over here, which I think I'm also going to have to find and going to have to go for the same reason. Just are basically worn out. So let's just take this pair here. This was another pair of them. So yeah, I think I've just come down to one pair. I had 4 pairs of these in the end, although this pair obviously didn't last long because I only had the left shoe for a while. So let's give these a retirement. I think each of these came to about 250 miles and I felt they went a bit flat, especially under the toes. So you can see sort of how much little there is under the toe there relatively. I think when I used to press that in, you feel like there was actually nothing there. This one's probably a bit newer, and perhaps feel it doesn't like crest so much, but yeah, I think they all have to go, I'm afraid. Sort of a 2021 shoe. This was the shoe I actually wore, or one of these models, for my longest ever run, 55k or 35 miles. So 60th birthday is coming up in November next year, so maybe I'll gear up to doing a 60k run. Who's to know? So yeah, maybe send out invitations for people to run with me for a bit. If I don't do 60k, I'm sure we'll be doing something. I think it's on a Saturday, 22nd November 2026 is my 60th, so see if I can get something arranged for that day. But yeah, these three will have to go, get a bit more room here. Another pair I'm going to chuck out because basically I think they've had it is these are the Endorphin Speed 3s. If you saw my recent video on the Speed 5, I actually brought out my newer version of the Speed 3. And I did about just over 200 miles in these ones. I don't think the 3 was the best of the bunch for sure. I think the 1 and 2 were a bit more racy. The 3 became a bit more sort of democratized, shall we say, a bit wider base. Didn't quite have quite the same pop, but I think it was very much a very similar shoe, and I think the Speed 5 was a bit of a return to a combination of the earlier versions and the more sort of like slightly wider, slightly more accommodating fit of the 3 and the 4. So I think the 5 is actually quite a good version. It's like a compromise of all the different versions, and in a way reassuringly familiar without actually changing too much. But yeah, these pair have had it, so I think time needs to go. I do actually quite like this colourway though. It was quite iconic at the time, I think. So yeah, one more that's seen a good innings and time to go. One more pair, I think. So, and yeah, these ones are the Nike Terra Kiger 5, I think. Now, a bit of an odd shoe, I think, the Terra Kiger line. They seem to have a load of versions since this one, and then they haven't really yet worked out Nike to have a really light shoe. The Ultrafly was meant to be a racing shoe, was like really a bit of a tank, especially in my size. And this one's okay, but now it just feels like really quite solid. I think it's React foam in this one. And I can't honestly think if I did a trail run, I'd really be wanting to take this one out. I think I'd take out some of my Pegasus shoes to use that, because I always think on a trail, if I need trail shoes, it's going to be potentially wet and muddy. So a summer trail shoe for me is a bit of a pointless shoe because I don't really ever use them in that way. But yeah, and it's not that light compared to, say, the Solomons up there, the grey ones, which are really light. I think if I wanted a really light shoe, then they would be the ones I would go for. So yeah, I think these will have to go. And yeah, I remember doing a long run of these on the Downs Link, and it wasn't too bad, but that's going back some years now, and I can't honestly think I would want to go out in them again. So yeah, have to go. If you notice on here, I've got the Prime X2 Strungs. I really should have sent them back when I had the chance, and now I've got the Prime X3 Strungs out. There shouldn't be much chance of selling them. And the Pegasus 2K5s, 2005. Somebody came across to see us the other day. We were actually wearing an exact pair of these. They really do feel like a tank. They weren't meant to be a actual running shoe from modern day. Meant to be a remake retro shoe. I did some like walk jogs in them last summer when I was recovering from injury. Not too bad, but you think, well, shoes have definitely come a lot since the time. So yeah, quite a nice looking shoe, but as a running shoe, then yeah, don't think it's going to be too much in use. But we'll keep that one and find a bit of a room for it on the shelf now at least. So they can go in there for now. And these Prime X2 Strungs, yeah, I really did struggle with them. Very low toe box, almost crushing my toes. I felt they were long enough, but yeah, just a very odd shoe. And I see the new ones out, £250 retail, and you kind of think that's just extortionate in the times. I mean, why would you really want to get a pair of them when you can pick up an Adios Pro 4 in most sizes, apart from mine? So I think I sold them £153. So yeah, I mean, as a relatively new shoe, and a shoe, the Adios Pro 4 that I've been quite enjoying, why would you really need all that weight and all that stack? I'm not sure that it really gives you any advantage. So yeah, it's strange, isn't it, the price of shoes? I mean, they're pricing the shoes almost by the amount of volume of stack in the midsole, but is that really actually that much weight? I think basically this is just a shoe that is like priced highly to make it be hyped up. But yeah, I'm just picking these up. I mean, these are like 400 grams each, so I've got 800 grams of shoe here. Compare that to, say, the Vaporfly 4's about half the weight. So, but yeah, I don't think I'll chuck them out yet, but let's find them room off the treadmill. I think the next set of shoes that I'll probably be looking to cull is probably some of the older Novablast and some of the older Pegasus, but I think I've got enough of a bag today. So maybe some of them are actually resellable. So I kind of think that shoes, though, that are either very old or have worn a lot, it's just not even worth the bother of trying to get 10 quid for them or something like that. And you almost feel like you don't really want to give a shoe like that to somebody else because it's not really going to be one you want to wear. So I don't think I'd really want to be honourable and try and sell something that's basically on its last legs. Oh, so have you got any old shoes that you really should chuck out? Which pairs if you think you've had enough of and really should go the same way? Anyway, hope you found this interesting. Like and subscribe on that, and see you in the next one then. Bye! So welcome to the recycling centre at Tesco's in Guildford, the place to come, of course, for testing shoes. Well, sadly, the end of the road for these ones has given them their final burial, should we say. Okay, we've got the Vomero 16s and the Terra Kiger 5s, and some worn out Pegasus Turbo 2s. We've got all the Endorphin Speed 2s here, 1.5 pairs. Remember, I lost the other half of one of them. And let's add the Endorphin Speed 3s. Let's go with the Brooks ones, the Brooks Ghost 9 and the Hyperion Tempo. And finally, let's go with the New Balance TCs, the Ultraboost. I think these were version 4s. Found these in an outlet shop, so yeah, back to where they came from basically. And the last pair, a rather worn out pair of Vaporfly 1s. You can see they're coming away at the toes for sure, aren't they?